Is it over? Can I come out now? Ooh. In my last video I said that straight away I was going to start reading Revival by Stephen King. I expected this to take, you know, a couple of days, not in reality what it actually took me, which was 12 hours. What happened was I edited the last video, I uploaded it, well, started to upload it, and before it had even reached 45%, which gives you an inkling of how slow and horrible my internet is at the minute, I had finished the entire book. I started it at maybe 4:30 in the afternoon, took about half an hour to eat tea, and then started right back on this. And by 4:30 in the morning, I was utterly terrified. Remember in the last video when I said that I didn't think it was horror? I think Stephen King is a pretty well-known horror writer, but I didn't think that this was going to be quite so bad, you know, as like The Shining, and to be fair, it wasn't. For about half of the book, it was very misleading. When I started reading it was still light outside, reasonably. It was getting kind of dark, but light enough that I didn't feel uncomfortable knowing that I was going to start reading a Stephen King book. Which I never ever read The Shining in the dark, not once, because I knew that it would mess me up, and it did. I still had trouble sleeping and I still didn't read it after dark. But this I was so wrong, because by the end of it I was in bed. I could not turn my light off for about half an hour after I finished it. I was utterly terrified. It was brilliant. The book keeps referencing the old, I think it's a proverb? I don't even know how to say that. The thing about the frog, if you put it in a pot and slowly heat the water, it won't realise that it's being boiled until it's too late. I use that saying in like reference to getting older and how you don't realise that you're older until you're old, which makes more sense when you read it. But I think he actually did the same thing with the horror, because it was still light outside when I started reading and I was comfortable reading it, and then it slowly got weirder and weirder until I didn't realise that it was full-blown horror, and it had been for quite a while. It was just so subtle, just the little hints leading up to it, and it just builds up into this massive... Why? Oh god, it's good, it's so good. Anyway, the book is about a little boy called Jamie. The book begins on Jamie's 6th birthday, and he's looking back as like a 60-something-year-old. And he's looking back on his day, and he slowly works through his life like an autobiographical thing. It was very easy to read. There was no long rambling descriptions that just seemed to go on and you want to end. But there was none of that. It was so easy. It was very conversational, which I think was helped by the fact that it's in first person looking back at his life. It was so good that I got so engrossed in it that, you know, when you do the thing where you're reading and you get to maybe the end of the second page and then you have to turn the page and you realise, I was not paying attention to any of that. I don't have a clue what I've just read because my mind just wandered off. I didn't do it once. It was too good to get distracted from. I could easily read this again, and the characters are so easy to get attached to, but even though you kind of think that you shouldn't, because right from the beginning there is a theme of illness and death and growing up and responsibility, thrown in with religion and sex and relationships and love. All of which are completely different. There's a great sense of family, and you sort of see how every single one of those points just evolves throughout his life. And so you kind of don't want to get attached to too many of the characters, but there is one character in particular that you can't help it, and that is Scary, because that character, he is creepy, but he's not from the beginning. You can, it's the frog in the pot thing. It builds up slowly, so much that you don't really notice. You just get this feeling inside growing that you just can't quite put your finger on what's wrong, and it's so real because that is exactly how Jamie feels about him as well. Or at least that's what I got from it. You might get something completely different, but that's how I felt about it. It's so good! 5 stars, 5 stars, Mr. King, Your Royal Highness, for making me fall in love with this very creepy book. Just write forever, please. Never ever stop writing things like this. This is gold. Oh, it's so good. Fantastic. I urge you all to go and read it. Do not put it down. Read into the early hours of the morning. because you will not, you might regret it a little bit if you're reading in the dark, but you will not regret reading it overall because it's so good. Would I read it again? Yes, absolutely. And it'll terrify me exactly as much as it did the first time. And I can't wait, because it's that good. I feel that now is an appropriate time to say thank you, George, for this amazing Christmas present. And now, I'm going to go hide under my blanket again because they're coming for me.